Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Karen. I think we're in March. We're taping this in November. So I don't know why I felt like you needed to know that. You don't. Forget it. Housekeeping. Join the Patreon. Come do readings with us. Join for free. Get a taste of what it's like. It's Patreon.com/Rontowski. Sign up for my email list in case my Instagram or my TikTok disappear because I say something bad. But I got shows all over this year. Come see the Psychic Stand-Up Show. I think that's it. I think I pushed everything. If it's March, I am in Boca Raton at the end of the month with Psychic Stand-Up. Okay, everybody. So today, my guest, animal communicator, pet communicator, animal extraordinaire, strength card for my tarot fans, Maria Stoner is here. Maria, how are you?
Hi, Karen. Thanks for inviting me today. I'm happy to be here.
You know, I do recommend a ton of people to you, and they always tell me how great you are. And I know a little bit about your journey, and this is what I find fascinating because I feel like we're in a time where people are getting their gifts, understanding their gifts, and things are coming through. And I knew you as an animal lover and an animal saver, and then you started studying to become an animal communicator. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is so on par, Karen. My beliefs is that we all have gifts. We actually all can talk to the animals. I think we are born knowing how to do that, and sometimes we get talked out of it, or we told, "How can you know that?" So I am not one of those people who, like, I've always been close to animals. I think I've always gotten messages from them, but I wasn't always aware. But that's where we're coming from.
And you know what else? We both know Sonia, and Sonia's fabulous. And
Yes.
and I recommend both of you guys to everybody. But she was sort of born with it and just kind of did it. You know what I mean? Now,
Yeah.
who did you actually studied, like went to school for it, right?
Yes. Yeah. I actually went to Danielle McKinnon's school, and I was in one of the first classes that Danielle was ever able to do, because she wanted to teach classes live. Very difficult at that particular point. There just wasn't a platform for it. So when the platforms became available to actually have live in-person classes in that way, I was one of her first students, which was a really super cool experience. And I had known Danielle, and actually worked with her prior to her being able to do that. So it was super exciting to have that opportunity.
Now, this is a weird question. It might be a trick question. I don't mean it that way. But like, I feel like with tarot, like there's things to learn, A, B, and C. But whenever I go to a psychic or intuitive class, it's really more about two things, which is meditating. There's maybe 2 or 3 tips. There's never like that groundbreaking tip that you're looking for. And
Right.
it's about doing it.
Yes.
Was that kind of what this is like too? It's like doing it and someone guiding you. Obviously the teacher is still valuable, but there's no like, pull on your left ear and then that happens or something, right?
Right. I think, again, that's an excellent point. And I think in the beginning, when any of us are learning or trying to connect with, our psychic abilities and our innate knowledge, we want this, like, step 1, step 2, step 3 kind of roadmap. And part of it is really learning that that's not how it happens. When I when I'm talking to clients too, and I'm trying to help them connecting with their animals, what I'm saying to them is the biggest challenges of this is getting your energy into a place where you can receive the messages, because a lot of times we are kind of vibrating in a level of chaos sometimes, but just that energized, where it's very difficult. Like the animals can be trying to give us messages, and we can, our guides and lots of other sources can be trying to give us messages, but we are not able to attend, hear them, pay attention, those sorts of things. So when it comes to the animals, the two big things are learning how to manage your energy and then trusting what you get.
Okay, so that was probably a valuable we should all pay you now for that piece of information because and this is probably what a great teacher does, which is you just reformulated into words what a lot of us are probably trying to do and aren't, which is getting our energy ready to receive. Is that a trick everybody can do? Is it a meditation thing? What is that?
So it is a trick everybody can do. Certainly meditation is one way to be able to do it. I think there are multiple ways. Some people, when you say to them, okay, meditate, they're like, oh my gosh, and their minds go crazy. And that is actually like a really normal part of the process. And so I think part of it is also learning how to experience that initial sort of anxiety or your mind kind of going wonky and sending you in six different directions. But people sometimes can do a walking meditation. Sometimes people like to listen to music. There are multiple ways to get yourself in a particular energy that is calm down, able to receive, so that you can, be more privy to, hearing, receiving information.
So that also might be something that everybody does differently, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That makes
And
sense.
I think it's really good to have like, so for me, anytime I'm going to do a reading, I have a particular structure of things that I do, things that I say, which again, it's like working, instead of working muscle memory in the gym, you're working kind of your mental mind memory in like, okay, when I do these things, this sets me up for this is what I am. Um, my mind knows like, okay, we're getting into this state. This is what we're going to do. This is where the focus is, those sorts of things.
Um, so the when I had a this is very my well, I guess I had a lot of connection with courage, but when I had I had this stray cat that just moved in with me. Let's start with that. When you run into let's say we were reading for that cat, do you think pets find their owners sometimes?
Yes, definitely.
So this cat rolled up into my house for some reason, and when I would go on the road, he would go away, and when I came home, he would come home like he knew.
Wow. Yeah.
And I remember one day I was like, "Are you okay?" And then obviously I didn't hear anything, and then I turned around and I was like, all of a sudden I was like, "He needs to go to the vet now."
Hmm.
And a little kid had hit him with a BB gun.
Oh, gee.
But he
Oh.
wasn't limping or he wasn't but they found it and everything worked out okay. But it was very interesting to me in that time that I don't remember any how I got the information, but I was like,
Hmm.
"It's time to go to the vet
Hmm.
now."
Yes, yes. And that's a lot of times how it will show up for us. And then I think sometimes that's also why we struggle to trust it. Because again, we're going back to that logical piece of like, oh, I need something that says like this is how I got this. Or and I really try to encourage people like, no, you don't need that. Um, just trust what you get because they will send those messages. And my guess is like the kitty was saying to you, like, hey, something's wrong, Karen. I
Right.
need some help. And you were able to get on that wavelength. Now, it's interesting because going back to how people can get messages. So, a lot of times people will get messages as they're waking up or they're falling asleep. The shower is also another place because they're kind of in a different sort of realm. And so it's easier for things to come through in some of those areas because we're not thinking so hard about other certain things.
So it's easier for them to come through wind water or just because we're in the shower we're more relaxed?
Yes, it's more about where our mind is.
Oh, interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
do you have any great stories of someone who's like a dog just showed up, like courage just showed up, and somebody? I've told this story a million times, but when I went to the pound, I saw courage. He was so small, and he couldn't even get anything to eat, and he was so little. And the guy said that one goes on auction Sunday at noon, and he was like, "That dog's going to go for thousands. Everybody's going to bid on that dog." And then on the Friday, I was like, nah, I'll go back and look again. And I went back and the lady said, I don't know why he told everyone noon. It's 11. So I got there Sunday at 11. There was 3 of us. And obviously it got knocked down to me. And I think it was 5:50. And just as the lady swiped my credit card, they opened the door and there was a line of people yelling, you said the Papillon went on at noon. So I always felt like that was that meant to be moment.
Yes, yes, yes. And they really do find us and they orchestrate ways to get to us. I've had multiple cats in my life. Not one of cats have I officially adopted. They've all found me. Now my dogs I have adopted, but even stories of like actually when I was in my animal communication class, I am in the East, and have been all of my life. Dog on the internet in California. And it was one of those things where like that dog is supposed to be my dog. Like I don't like he's just supposed to be my dog. And of course there's a lot of logic that then comes in from other people on the outside going like, how do you know that? Are you sure? And I'm like, I cannot give this logic as to why. But he's supposed to be my dog. And uh got got to the point where somebody like it all worked out that somebody in a rescue was willing to have somebody foster him for me for 2 weeks until he could get on transport. And then it looked like transport was not going to work out. And at the last minute, it all came together. Those are the kinds of things, like, also, again, to pay attention to, because it feels like the universe is supporting you to get that to happen.
Yeah, like how I got courage.
Yes, exactly.
Now, so I went on a date with a guy once, and we were talking about dogs, and he said, I had the dog. He said, you can have a dog, but I had the dog. And I loved how he said that like, that was my dog. And he literally walked up, he was walking to do some work on or drop something off for a guy at a farm. And the dog ran up to him and he was like, you're my dog. And the guy comes out and goes, do you want that dog? And it was just, that was the story. And then that was
Yeah.
the one that goes with him everywhere like that. Have you ever
Yeah.
had an animal tell you a story like that?
Oh, good question. I mean, I think what they like almost always are telling me is like I picked to come to this person. Um and when that is the case, there's really nothing that gets in the way of that. Um because they really come with contracts that they have of working with us and teaching us things. And so and it's and again, everything that I've learned and everything that they've told me, it's well designed before we all even come into these bodies. So
Yeah, so you kind of can't push it.
I don't know. I mean, it really is divine timing and they come when they're supposed to. You know, like sometimes people will be like, well, if I had had this dog before, it would have never worked out. I wasn't in the right space or, you know, those sorts of things. And I do think sometimes the longer we're here, the animals are coming with bigger, like they know when we're ready for whatever lesson is next.
Right.
And what we're supposed to be learning. And so, you know, there's the old statement of you may not get the dog that you want, but you get the dog that you need. So, and I think there is some truth to that even and that's often they say that more in the training behavioral realm, but I also think that's very true in the intuitive spiritual realm, because they're ones that come with big lessons that stretch us in a multitude of ways.
So that's good how you broke that down. There's the training realm and the intuitive realm. There was a certain level of training that courage would do, and then it was just like, no, which was probably my fault. I was probably letting him get away with stuff. But are there some dogs that are just so stubborn? They're like, I'm not doing that.
There are definitely dogs who have very strong constitutions and can be stubborn. And I usually what I find that is tied again to something they're trying to teach their human.
Oh,
So sometimes, and I'll say one of my like I got a set of 2 dogs at one point that stretched me very much in all different directions. So, and I had a magnificent trainer that I worked with at the time, and I went through a couple of them interviewing before I found somebody who really I thought was and like dog centered, and you know, for example, like my boy did not like wet. So he didn't like his feet wet. He didn't like his behind wet. And I chose to honor him in the way of like, so I'd ask him to sit and he would sit with just 2 inches before his rear would hit the grass if it was wet. Now I could have chosen to be like very hard old school and been like, no, you need to, obey me and sit fully. But that wasn't the relationship we had. I felt like I can honor him. He knows what it is that I want. He's doing it to where his comfort level is. That's okay with me. And the fact that my trainer completely understood what I was saying and how that was going, really again emphasized for me that was the right trainer. But there will be lessons where dogs will be like, this is not about you imposing will and having control, so I will resist. Because it's a bigger lesson in their life of like, you cannot control everything or you can't demand. Like there's usually, if they are choosing these sorts of ways of showing us things, there's a bigger lesson involved.
That would make sense for Courage and me too. That makes perfect sense. And it's interesting because, well, let's take a break and we'll be right back. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Do you love everything paranormal, supernatural, or otherwise spiritual?
Well, of course you do. You're listening to Paranormal Karen.
If you like some humor sprinkled into your morning commute or wherever you listen to your podcast, we don't judge. We've got the most fantastic paranormal podcast for you.
I'm Dana.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Megan. We'd love for you to join us at Supernormal on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcast fix.
Trust us, it's weird, it's wild, and a whole lot of fun.
I'm not weird, you're weird.
So Courage hated baths. And he was so small and delicate. I think now when I watch things and other dogs, I think about how much he got away with. Like he really got away with a lot with me because I don't know that he ever had a full bath. Like I would cover him in water as fast as I could, scrub him, and then whoosh him again. And then he would just run around angry and his little feet weren't working right. So then I felt like he was hurting his feet. And then he would shiver for like hours, even when he was warm, and he's not going to be blow dried. So I always wonder, like, is that one of those things? If, was he just like your dog? I don't like wet. I'm not going to have it. It's never going to be okay.
Yeah. Right.
But also, this is the big question. Do your dogs sleep in bed with you?
So my dogs do not sleep in bed with me, not because at least these set of dogs, because the one dog that I have is not cat friendly, even though he was supposed to be.
But you're not against.
I'm not against. I do not believe in the if you allow your dogs to sleep in your bed, that's a dominance issue.
Right. I don't either. So, that's the whole point of having a dog.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. It's years and years ago. Victoria Stillwell, who I think is a beautiful dog trainer, would say, like, look, dogs are not behind the scenes. Like, oh, we're gonna get you. We're gonna run through the door faster than you can get through because we want to take over the world. Like, that's not where they're coming from. And I would agree in all of my times of talking to them. That's not what it. It's not a dominance thing.
I'm not crate or cage crazy, but the dogs don't mind, do they?
Most dogs do not mind. I will again go back to one that I currently have. In fact, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary together. He's my guy that I bust him all the way from California. He has what I would call is the closest thing to a panic attack that you would see in people if you try to crate him. He is perfect if you do not. But anytime he's enclosed in any way, shape, or form in that way, it sends him into an all-out panic.
Wow.
So but there are other dogs who like that is their safe place. I think a lot of dogs, if you again, because I am not against training at all. I believe training and communication can go very beautifully hand in hand. Um, and so there are dogs that is a safety place. That is, and, some dogs are big chewers, and you have to like that's the best way to keep them safe as well. So
I remember Courage when I got him the first night. He was 3 pounds, and he was in the crate for about a half hour before he was in bed with me. It was just
yeah.
and then never again.
Yeah.
So, and you have pit bulls, right?
So I have pit bulls and and pit bull mixes. Yeah, and it's funny, Karen, because I was just thinking like they train us too.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do. And
Yeah.
Courage was in charge of the whole neighborhood. He was the boss, as we would say.
Yeah.
But you really like pit bulls.
Love them.
And I have seen nothing but nice pit bulls. And then you hear the stories and I look at them and I do think that's a pretty big jaw, but that doesn't mean they're going to use it, you know?
Yeah, I think the I first of all I love all dogs. I grew up having collies and lots and lots of mixed breed dogs. One of my own personal dogs as an adult was a dog that I found in the city running in traffic, and she was this was before DNA testing, so our best guess was like a Shepherd Collie mix. So love them all, but pitties in my experience are so cuddly, so loving. I've only had positive experiences. And there is no doubt that, big dogs, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Pit Bulls, those kinds of dogs, they have big jaws, strong jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
My sister has an Irish Wolfhound. That's my favorite. That's a dinosaur. That's a giant.
That is a huge dog. Yes.
Yes. And couldn't be more gentle.
Yes, usually very gentle, docile. Yeah.
So, when people call you, is it usually behavioral issue or vet issue? And do you do both, right? Like he says his kidneys hurt or something like that?
Yeah, so I do both behavioral issues again because particularly I find them related to the soul contract of what the animal is trying to teach. I also do health issues that honestly I would kind of term as one of my specialties because I get a lot of body information, and so that's one of the areas I feel exceptionally strong in. And so have been able to help people kind of be able to ask the right questions when they go to the vet or explain symptoms or experiences the animal is having that I think helps veterinarians do their job even better. And then there's a lot of people particularly grieving, the loss of their animals, and it can be really helpful to hear from their animals from the other side. People can have a lot of guilt about how things happened. Sometimes they feel like they missed something. Sometimes they feel like, the euthanasia process didn't go the way that they had hoped. And a recent story is there was a particular client I had who had an animal who she knew was coming to the end of their time. They were ill and had planned out a very beautiful in-home euthanasia for this animal, and was really struggling because at the end that is not what happened at all. This person ended up having to rush the animal to the vet and had to say goodbye to the animal at the vet, which was not at all this person's plan. And so they were really struggling that that's the way that it went. And in the reading, what the animal was able to say was, I chose it this way because even though you planned this beautiful thing for me, and I so appreciate that, I didn't think it would be in your best interest to every day have to be and look at the spot where I took my last breath.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Yeah. So the animal actually chose to make it emergent, that there was really no other choice. There wasn't the ability to wait another day, in service and to try and honor their human And then this is where I think that they often know best. And there's ways that they try to protect us and do it in the way that's best for us, even if we don't necessarily understand it in the moment.
So courage, obviously, when I moved cross country, was like, getting to Utica was like, I think I'm finally in a really good place here because I'm getting a ton of comedy work. Everything's kind of going really good right now. So I'm like at peace. So everyone that was worried when I first moved here, it was horrible. It was horrible. And we drove all the way cross country, and he, of course, was a traveling dog. So he was okay hotel to hotel, but I couldn't get him to eat right. And then I think he died a couple of days after we got here. And it was weird because we got here and then we went on the road, and we were going to go on the road. The first trip got canceled or something was weird. I don't know. But one day I got up, he started throwing up. He really couldn't see. And I just, in my head, heard he has a blockage. It's time. So literally he made sure I made it cross country. And then in a weird turn of fate, because he died, I don't even think I was unpacked when he died. And we went to the place, and it happened very, like, he was in my arms and he just went to sleep. So it was all really peaceful. And then I went on the road the next day. I had a gig, and I came home, and they had cleaned my apartment. And she said, we didn't have time to really clean it well. And they had sort of the corner that he was in, they had piled up all his stuff, and it was everything was clear. And it was kind of like, almost like what you're saying, like, not that he wasn't there, but if he had died in Los Angeles and I was still living there in that apartment, I would look for him every time I came around the corner. But it kind of happened that right way. And also it wasn't like, is it time? It was like, it is time.
Very clear. Yeah.
And that, I think, is a huge blessing.
Yes. Yeah. I think that is a huge gift when they are able to make it so clear to us that there's really no other choice or option.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really feels like he very consciously made sure he was with you through the journey of that trip.
Yes. Then I say he left when it got at its worst, but that's what I was kidding. But it was all about, this is the next chapter. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
But, and at that point I was having to put fluids in him, and it was such a drama to put a needle in your little guy. It was horrible. And this place, not vet friendly. It's crazy. But when you are, I don't know what's wrong with him, he's sluggish, blah, blah, blah. Do you get images? Do you feel it in your body? Does the dog say it? How do you kind of come up with that information of what's going on?
Yeah. So what I call it is a body mapping or a body scan. And I actually will feel into their body almost like I lay like a see-through image of their body over top of mine, and kind of, it's so automatic to me anymore. Sometimes it's almost like I feel like I step into their body. And they will give me occasionally words. Most of what I get is like, actually get sensations in my body. So like, I'll be on the phone with somebody and I'll be like, where the back right hip, hurts in your dog. So I'll get, information of like the pain or whatever will show up in those sections of my body.
Okay. And they'll say, yeah, he's been limping. And do they show you when it's like, do you know the difference? Like, this is cancer, or this is a pulled muscle, or something like that?
So the more and more and more of this work you do, I think it could, because everybody has their own specific signs. And then the more you do the work and the more you become familiar. So in the beginning, 10 plus years ago, when I was first doing readings, I wouldn't necessarily know the difference between what felt like diabetes or what felt like a kidney, necessarily like a kidney issue versus a spleen issue. So the more that you do the work, the more that you start to know what the sign is that they give you when they're experiencing certain things, And so now I'm much more specific about being able to discern like what that is, what this is. Pancreatitis. I'm really clear anymore on lots of dogs who struggle with um, like hormonal sorts of imbalances and those sorts of things. So, and a lot of times they'll give me certain symptoms too that also make it like really clear. So a lot of times with particularly cats and dogs with diabetes, I get very thirsty. Uh,
Oh.
yeah, and I can, yeah, and so, and I don't normally take a drink during a reading. So when I'm having to take a drink, like I know, and I can suss out typically, okay, do we have some allergy things that I feel? No, this is more like dry mouth, or are we dehydrated? Like, and so I'll go through my process and kind of, and then sometimes I'll just ask them, is this dehydrated? And then they can kind of let me know too.
Courage was 18. He had everything.
Yeah.
And still walked almost every day, right up until the end, still around the block every day.
Yeah.
Do they ever talk to you about creator or God or anything like that? Anything like that spiritual, not just their purpose?
So they will show me signs and things of the other side. They will, and I would say not. I don't know that anybody's necessarily shown me God per se.
When they show the other side, is it a dog park? Is it
There's a lot of, so it's interesting because there are a few of them will show me that they are actually in what looks like animal school.
Oh.
So, and some of them will show me like they're the greeter over there, or they are like, and they'll, the really cute image that several of them have shown me over the years is they will show me like sitting behind the old fashioned like school desk, and they'll throw eyeglasses on themselves. So it's super cute. And they will show me that as if like they are learning, and several of them have shared like, I'm kind of the teacher over here. I'm learning these different things because I'm going to, I'm teaching different souls to come back over to our side. So boy, I just got a huge goosebump confirmation feeling on that. So it's like super cool when they do that. So each of them has sort of different roles. They also will show me different things of sort of like what, if we think about like what our heaven would be, like what they see their heaven being. So some particularly dogs will show me like it is full on blazing sun and I am laying in it. Other dogs will show me like running with other animals, like through these like grassy sort of knolls and fields. And so they'll show me lots of different things. And often it is things that they enjoyed while they were here.
But they're with us in heaven, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because courage better be there.
Yes. Yes, they will definitely. And I do get people things that come through in certain readings. And so, recently I had one where there was a gentleman and I could see this person's dog had crossed over, and the gentleman was there and leaning down and picking up the dog and putting him in their arms. So they'll give me visuals like that too, or other animals who might have been in their pack here, who we sometimes they didn't even know them while they were here, but they were in our lives, and they know them over there. So they'll show me those images too.
One of the because Sonia had the two Bijans, Oliver and
Yes.
Who was the other one? Oliver and
oh gosh,
I can't.
Dusty was the previous
First
one.
Yeah.
Yes. Einstein. There we go.
When they had to put Oliver down, there was a picture of Einstein standing at the door watching them drive away. That was the most heartbreaking picture. Not what he looked like, but like dogs do bond with other dogs, don't they? They have little doggy families.
Yes, animals do grieve. I know sometimes that's debated, but they absolutely do. Sometimes I will say, sometimes I'll say to people, watch the animals see what they're doing, because they can also pick up on our grief, which then can also intensify theirs. So sometimes they're picking up on our grief and we're seeing more grief in them because of just the level of emotion that we're feeling. And then there are also points where they are absolutely, definitely grieving.
My tarot teacher, who's most of her religious stuff is, I think it's I think it's Buddhist, Indian kind of
Yeah.
thing. But
Mhm.
she says, and I kind of disagree with this, that animals are trying to reincarnate to become humans.
Have never told me.
I think it's the opposite, right? I want to come back. My friend Rich Scheidner always says, next life, I'm coming back as a dog that belongs to a single middle-aged woman. Because there's no one has an easier life than the dog of a single middle-aged woman. And I was like, I think he's right. But I always felt like they're above us.
So I would also agree that I mean, it's been interesting because, another big question that comes often especially when we've got an animal that we've just loved with every part of our heart and soul transitions is, people want to know if they're coming back in this lifetime.
That is, hold that question. Let's come back because that is right
Okay.
on the tip of my tongue. All right, everybody, hang on.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, Paranormal Karen, what are you doing? Why aren't you taking CBD? Listen to me. P39CBD.com. That's where you want to go. That's where I go. That is where you're going to find the best. P39 CBD is committed to providing high quality, premium grade hemp extract products. P39 CBD uses organically grown industrial hemp sourced from nutrient abundant soils right here in the USA to ensure a therapeutic rich CBD product. Now, if you're not using them on your pets, go take a look at the website now. CBD, especially for aging pets, is fantastic, and you know how animals react way better to natural products. Get a jump on your holiday shopping and give the gift of health. Give P39 all natural CBD. Use coupon code Karen for 20% off. Order now and get a free gift. Now listen to this list. P39 CBD is non-GMO, lab tested, no pesticides, GMP certified, all natural, family owned and operated business. I couldn't even think of anything to add to that list to make it better. P39CBD.com. Stop by and see what they're all about. And if you're in Arizona, Fountain Hills exactly, make a trip, go in and say hello. Say, I'm a Paranormal Karen listener. 16810 East Ave of the Fountains, Suite 103, Fountain Hills, Arizona. P39CBD.com. Get yours now. I can't believe how fast this interview is going. Also, it's so weird, but it was like literally, this is the influence Maria Stoner has. It was like gray and raining, and now we're only like 3/4 of the way full, and the sun is out, and,
Oh, cool.
and
Oh,
the
that's
snow
awesome.
has melted. I'm going to call that the Maria Stoner effect.
I love it.
So, does the same dog sometimes come back? Is there a chance Courage is going to pop up again?
So here's what I will say. And I'll go back to what you had said to me quickly before I answer that question, Karen, which is I do not hear or have animals saying to me they want to come back as humans. Animals have mastered that unconditional love. Humans are still working on that. So I would, and this is in my own wording, I would see that as a step back for them. I don't think they have any interest in that, frankly.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So then if we roll forward to these animals that we love so much, and I will just say I really, and if my clients listen to this, they will know this is what I say. Like when they transition from physical form, it is one of the most challenging, heartbreaking experiences those of us who are still in these 3D human bodies can have. I mean, it's really can feel like your heart is just being completely ripped out. And there's nothing like when they leave their physical form, because we're really attached to that physical form. And I will say to people, even knowing what I do, even talking to them every day. I mean, I talk to transitioned animals every day. There still is just nothing like having them in that 3D furry touch them form. There isn't. So what most of them tell me is that they are not coming back in this lifetime. I have had a few who do, or who will say, I am still considering that. I've also had a few in the last couple of years with the way the energies have been clearly say to me, oh no, I am not coming back to that energy. Or which is kind of, it's almost funny when they
Have
say
they
to me,
seen the election? They're like, no, we're not coming back. We've seen the election.
like, I'm not coming back in that crazy town stuff that you people are doing right now. And sometimes they'll also say, like, I can help more from this side than I can from coming back.
Okay. I think once somebody said Courage said he's coming back, but and I'm sure someday I'll get another dog, I think. But right now I'm doing so much traveling and he was really, right from the get-go, he was okay.
Yes.
He was like, I'm in the bag. I'm in the bag, ready to go. I'd come in, the suitcase be open, he'd be in the suitcase. I'm going.
I was gonna say I see him actually like already in there ready to go. Okay. Yeah.
That's how it
Yeah.
started. In the end, he was more like, all right, what are we doing today? That's a funny thing. Does it take a minute to tune in? I only have one question for him, and it's silly, but I still have his bag and his bed, and and I have his ashes, and I just want to throw away the bag, and I'm like, I don't know. The minute I throw that away with another dog, I want to know if he says it's okay to throw away the bag, his travel bag.
Let me just tune into him for just a second here.
I think I know what he's going to say.
He's saying no.
It's not okay to throw away the bag?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. All right.
I feel like it's more about you though, Karen, than it is. Yes, he's shaking his head. Yes, and it's not actually about him. It's about you still yet.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Because I have to size down so that everything fits in my car. And I know I'm keeping his jacket. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I'm keeping that. And
Wow, there's a really lovely, like, snuggly love connection with the jacket.
okay, yeah, that my mom made that jacket, and now she's almost done, and he was the only one he really liked, and it's just got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that one has a lot of meaning. Yes.
Yeah, and his clip, his thing that said courage on it that he wore around his neck is on
Little name
my
tag.
yes,
Okay.
that's on my car. But do they hold on, I lost my train.
I just want to say to you, yeah, and hopefully this will help you catch your train of thought again. But he's saying to me, you're gonna know when it's time to get rid of the bag. There's still, like, it's almost like I see you putting it, like you're gonna throw it away and then you pull it back out.
Every time.
Yeah, when that doesn't happen anymore, you're ready.
Okay, all right. I think it's coming soon, and especially hearing that, I get it. Yeah. And you know what? He couldn't have lived here. Those skinny legs and the snow and I know what I was going to ask. Wait a minute. Here it comes. Why do I keep losing this particular question when it's so in the end, Courage wasn't snuggly. He was kind of crabby, and that's very common with older dogs. Is that this is my perception, it could be way off. Because energy is so important to them, is that they couldn't the energy for boundaries wasn't there anymore? Like he was too tired to put it out, or everything just seemed too close all of a sudden? What was that?
So there's actually a couple of reasons they can do this. So I mean, one is just plainly just not feeling well, obviously at certain points, and when we don't feel well, we don't necessarily want somebody snuggling, hanging on us, touching us, that sort of thing. So there's just that sort of 3D piece. The other piece is that sometimes we are coming, when we know they're coming to the end of their time, there is a ton of emotion we typically have about this, and that shifts our energy. And sometimes that can feel like too much, particularly in their vulnerable or they're not feeling well states.
Right. Okay.
And then the third reason that I see this is that they're preparing to have us learn how to separate from them.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so they can animals who used to sleep with us can start to not do that, can start to move away. And I actually recently saw that even one of my own with also moving away from an animal companion that they have, who they were closest to. And so it's almost again as if they are trying to get us to become slowly more and more adjusted to them not being right there.
Are most of them, so I think this is how I met you in the beginning. Most of them are happy to be here. So this is I don't want to do anything that becomes a downer here, but the other day, so first of all, know that I overly worry, okay, especially about animals. So we're in the airport and this woman has got like a baby, a car, a baby carriage, a dog, and like 4 bags. And of course, she doesn't know how to get through security. So she's being TSA's pulling her, and she's got one of those leashes that Courage always had where it can extend out and it zips back.
Trackable.
And the dog's all over. And I am sitting there going, don't look because you're going to scream, lock the leash. And because the dog's far, when the leash is that far out, you can't be around other people or whatever. And it all did work out okay. But like I was so stressed for that dog. And do you ever find now, or when you see a dog that looks sad, or how do the animals process if they're not being treated correct?
So I think, and again, for those of us who love animals, for those of us who are, intuitive, empathic, like these are difficult things for us to watch and see on our journey here. The one thing that I, often have to try to remind myself even is that, again, this goes back to soul contract. So there are animals who come with bigger purposes to shift the collective consciousness. And so, those are sometimes the high profile abuse cases that end up in the news. Sometimes the dog fighting rings that get busted. Like there are, it makes me think back to like the Michael Vick dogs.
Yeah.
And the way that they were able, the majority of them to be rehabbed and, there's so many lessons and all of us are viewing that experience. So those are the things that I try to remember, that there's a bigger picture going on than even, can be privy to or know that these animals have agreed to, even when it is seemingly horrific sometimes in our own eyes.
Okay. That's yeah. Do you talk to wild animals, or they're harder to talk to?
So I do talk to wild animals. They are, in my experience, different to talk to because they are they're kind of very much more short and to the point.
They're not cordial.
I have a fascinating experience I had with a chipmunk. I had gone out a couple years ago to water some plants outside in the summertime, and he was on this concrete wall that I have out by my house, and he popped up and he had his cheeks kind of like all full, and I thought, I'm going to try and talk to him. And so I kind of was just talking to him, hey, little guy, like and now I had the ability to visually see him at the same time. And he turned and looked at me with like his eyes wide, like, oh my God, you're talking to me. and so I said to him, because again, their messages are usually kind of like short and sweet. And so I said to him, hey, do you have any messages that you would, like to share with me? And he just went, joy, and then shot off. So, so it's things like that often with the wild ones that you can get.
Because they are pretty happy to have their lives going on, aren't they?
Yeah, they are just kind of doing their thing, which reminds me too. Probably it was during COVID, Karen. There was a set of wild bunnies, and I ended up caring for one of them who, I don't know, might have only been 2 days old when was found, and I did all the things to make sure like there was no mama and there was no mama. But that experience was, you care for this being and you're bottle feeding it and you're up, every 3 or 4 hours. And so it was one of those things that, it was time to release him. And he was cool because he actually told me his name was Merlin. So, yeah, and he truly was magic, and it was an amazing experience. And I had to say to myself, like, he came here to have the experience of being a wild bunny. Like, you've got to let him do that.
Wow. So I have a little squirrel that comes up to my window, and unfortunately he scared away the other squirrels. But
Mm.
I open the window a crack and I make him take a peanut out of my hand. And
Oh.
now he's fat. Because I keep giving him peanuts. But I'm trying to train him with like the window is closed now. There's a sign like he should know you don't get them now. I open that after. But
Right.
yeah, that is so interesting. Have you ever? This is weird, but I'm fascinated by deer. Fascinated and terrified of deer. I'm either going to get run over by a deer. I hope I'm not going to hit one in my new car. We're in the season now. Do you know anything when they are standing in the middle of the road and they get hit? Is it truly a surprise to them? Do we know anything about that?
So I've had, unfortunately, a couple of friends who have, you know, had accidents with deer who have asked me to connect and see if I can find out what was going on there. The one particular time, most recently, that deer was very much trying to get that person to come back into their, be in the moment, be paying attention, slow down. Yeah, that was the message of that deer.
Is that, I have little animals run in front of my car all the time, and that could be the message.
Yeah, they really, in a lot of ways, and not just the wild ones, but the domesticated ones that are in our houses will often too try to get get out of your head, come back into this present moment.
Okay. My mother had a bird forever. Sorry, everyone, you didn't get a text. I did. I forgot to turn that off. Um, my mother had a bird forever, and it was not a nice bird. Well, it kind
Mhm.
of wasn't a nice bird, and then it started to like me. And when we had to move her to memory care, I took the bird in my house for one day, and it was so fun and so happy. And then I was like, "Oh, I can have a bird. I'm not anti-bird anymore."
Mhm.
And he went to live with someone else. That sounds like it's going well. But are birds any different? Because I just saw the funniest comedian talking about, birds can talk and we're not even paying attention. Of all the animals, like if aliens came down and they were like, tell us about the animals. Well, that one talked. Why aren't you talking to that one? Um, it was very funny. I think I posted it
Yeah.
on my stories. But is that like birds really do they have a different consciousness?
No, no, birds are also super cool to talk to. They very cued in just like all the other animals. Um, Definitely will, birds can have a tendency to do like feather picking and those sorts of things. And a lot of times they're trying again to show people like, hey guys, you're anxious and I'm gonna show you how anxious you are and pick out all my feathers. Um, yeah. So yeah, so they're really, really fun to talk to. Rabbits, hamsters, had some amazing guinea pig conversations. Yeah, very, very wise, no matter what body form they're coming in.
I love the story about the chipmunk. It's funny. This is how bad I am. So I'm mad that my squirrel is chasing away all the other squirrels and the chipmunks because they all used to come over here. And
Right.
but then I have to remember, oh yeah, they know how to survive without you.
Yes.
They're doing fine.
Yeah. And they have their own communication. Yes.
Do you ever run into sad animals? Because I know most of them are probably very happy to be here, like they get it and we don't.
Um, so there's been a few situations where I've run into animals who were ready to be done here. Um, Sometimes it is because their person who has transitioned and they're done being here. Um, Trying to think, there was another one who there was a cat in a shelter one time who was not. This was not my client. She was in a shelter, and I actually had somebody who also could communicate with animals who asked me to just check in with this cat because they kept getting that the cat no longer wanted to be here. and the cat was, and they were distressing because they were also somebody who volunteered at a shelter, and this cat was actually having the potential to be euthanized for behavioral reasons. And so they kind of wanted to know my take on what I got from the cat. I also got from the cat that the cat no longer wanted to be here. The cat showed me, and sometimes they will show me when they go to the other side, they'll show me to tell their human, like, this is no more than when you guys change, like if you had like wet clothing on or like a wet overcoat or you change clothes, like that's how they see it. I just zip off my body kind of thing and pop into my ethereal sort of form. This cat showed me kind of unzipping that thing and like, just let me go to the other side kind of thing. So that's one of the rare, I feel like in my experience, and again, over the 10 years that I've been doing this, that's one of the only, I mean, there might be one or two times where I can think, most times they are happy to be here. They're, doing their work with us and happy to stay in their 3D form as long as we need them to.
Now, Courage used to do this. Do you know any dogs or cats that tell you when there's entities in the house?
Yeah, you can often see them be looking at something. Some of them will, if it's a dog, they'll bark. But often they'll have either entities, or sometimes when our other animals or humans come back to visit us, they're picking up on that energy and kind of giving us cues.
Okay, because a couple of times I think Courage saw like an Anunnaki. It was like, it's a guy with a duck face or a beak, like a bird head or something. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Well, Maria, I can't believe this just flew by. Is there something wrong with time today? I was on the treadmill and it took forever. And then I was talking to you and it's done. Oh, my
You have to do these talks on the treadmill, Karen.
I know. Yeah, we should. I'll take my podcast on the treadmill. Maria, you're lovely. You're great at what you do. Everybody can find you at mariastoner.com, right?
Yes, and I am on Facebook and Instagram as well. It's Maria Stoner. There's an A and a C behind my name for animal communication.
But not on your website, right?
Right, not on my website. That's just straight my name.
Yeah. And what happens is you pay on your website and you send an email, right? You have a little different scheduling issue or thing that sometimes people are like, I don't know what happened. So tell people how they book with you.
Yeah, so typically people will send me a contact, like there's a form on my website that says contact me, and then you can just send me an email saying, yes, you'd like to book a session, and then, or sometimes people will pay for the session first and then send the email. It doesn't matter to me how you do it. And certainly if I get a payment and not an email, I try to reach out to people and say, hey, saw you paid me. So yeah, I'm probably going to be getting more of a scheduling service. It's just that I do multiple different kinds of, I also do Reiki and other sorts of energy sorts of treatments. And sometimes it's a little crazy to try to use an online scheduling with that.
Right.
But I am looking into possibly doing some more of that just to make that a little bit easier. But yeah, I just send an email and we get something. I usually offer 1 or 2 potential appointment times and we just get it scheduled.
Great. And for anybody out there, and also this is a really interesting tip, and I'm just going to throw it in for tarot readers or animal communicators or something. Just so you know, Stripe and PayPal will cut off your money if they think you're working as any kind of psychic.
Interesting.
Yes, and they will keep what was in your account.
Oh.
Yeah, I've had people lose thousands. So here's 2 things. Go online and get a affiliate. You for $20, you can get a minister's certification or something like that.
Already have that. Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
So now you're in the counselor category. So it's better. And don't put psychic or tarot on there. Get that little thing. So you're a minister of some crazy church. I'm minister of the Big Lebowski church. And yes, but have that And there was one more thing. Yeah, have the church thing and make sure you don't list psychic or tarot reader. Change that. So, yes. And Acuity is what I use if you've ever scheduled with me. And yeah, and Maria, I have somebody that knows how to use Acuity inside and out that could help you to separate appointments and stuff like that.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
yeah. But
Awesome.
anyways,
Thank
thank you for coming on, Maria. This was great.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's always so much fun to do this with you. And yeah, I was going to say happy holidays, but it's going to be March.
That's right. That's right. All right, Maria, thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen.
All right, everybody. We will see you in 2 weeks. I'm sure you all know I do bi-monthly now, thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Go to my website, karenrontowski.com or psychicstandup.com. I actually have my dates on the calendar so you can see where I'm coming up, all the dates for 2024, and sign up for my email and you won't miss a thing. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Paranormal Karen, she's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen.